It's been a good first half of the day. It's been awesome on this stretch here. I've been practicing with the cones and doing the like enduro steering, getting my ass out there. It's getting better and better, I think.
Moxie, Greg, and I are riding around the world to raise $100,000 for the nonprofit Girl Up. We're donating 10% of RUFFLY sales to the fundraiser and posting a new episode every week. It's a big dog on two wheels adventure for girls' empowerment. So follow along and please lend your support.
Jessica is a one-woman wrecking crew when it comes to taking down the tent. She just tears that thing apart, rolls it up, wraps it up, smushes it down, crushes it into the bag, and we're on our way. Look at the efficiency. Look at the... not so much. Meanwhile, I have the jet engine on in order to boil water for our morning nanopressos. So I get to sit here like I have broken leg and presso, and Jessica is tearing down the tent. Good deal. One of our small but incredibly meaningful purchases at Overland Expo was a new bag of coffee, because as we go along we use a lot of it like fuel, and we decided to go with Campgrounds Tea and Coffee. They are out of Prescott, Arizona. They talk a good game, and so I was truthfully prepared to sort of poo-poo them a bit. Alas, I must admit that I was totally incorrect about that, because this might well be the best coffee that we've had so far. It is pressoing like you can't believe. Very rich, very bold, like motor oil for the soul, you know?
Greg seems to think that we got bed bugs, but I don't really think that's the case. I think that there are just insects around. I think from last night there were a bunch of mosquitoes and other types of insects that were getting him. And Moxie obviously has been getting bitten as well. I don't know, she might have like red ant bites, and that's what she's scratching about this morning.
The origin has been traced epidemiologically back to that motel based on careful study and research, and it's quite unfortunate, not only for what it is, but because these are like the good sort of oozy pussy kind, like real smallpox level shit. So I have been scratching like crazy, and the only thing that stops me from scratching is being on the bike, riding and focused on what I'm doing, which means we have got to pack up and get going so that I can stop scratching my legs down to the bone. It is an ear protection day because it's gonna just be all high speed, straight, flat riding as we go through the Mojave on our way to Los Angeles.
There are a few things that need to be done on my new bike. Number one is installing the rock risers. I'm a little bit too tall for the standard size when I'm standing. I'm very much hunched over. And I did the level 1 off-roading course with DART or DRAGOO Adventures, and I could tell that I was really like hunching forward. I wasn't able to sort of stand up straight. And they also suggested that I put risers on. So I had the rock risers on my previous bike, so we just took them off and we're installing them now on my new bike. The other thing that we need to do is put my Atlas throttle lock back on.
The handlebar needs to be flipped for the rocks risers, because otherwise all the cables are too tight. Primarily the throttle cable. So that requires us to flip everything for the rock risers to work. So it's been flipped. Now we are trying to figure out the cable situation so that none of these electrical cables are being tugged or pulled when she turns her handlebars with the rock risers on there.
The last thing is we are putting Scott oilers on the bike. Mine requires a little bit of drilling in one part to put their universal spigot attached to it. To attach the universal spigot. Just a quick timeout to tell you how you can support the GoRUFFLY Around the World adventure for Girl Up. You can donate directly to Girl Up at GoRuffly.com/world-adventure. You can make a purchase at GoRuffly.com where 10% goes towards the fundraiser. Tell all your friends and family about it. And of course, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much. Now back to the adventure.
So now we are installing the Scott oiler in my bike. And Scott Oiler did a great job of providing me all of the things I needed for the European model motorcycle that does not have the EPA bypass unit for emissions control. So I'm having to do a little bit of a workaround, and really part of this workaround that's not at all Scott Euler's fault is the fact that my tubes are really crapping out. And you can kind of see that they're cracking, and I think our previous mechanic in Panajachel that did a lot of odd jobs for us on the bikes basically found it like that, and rather than maybe telling me about it, did some electrical tape repairs. So I am redoing his electrical tape repairs to my own standards of quality, and then in the meantime we will be purchasing new tubes because kind of important stuff, and you don't really want to leave it to some electrical tape. Although I do believe this will work for a good long while, not leaving it to electrical tape.
Tomorrow is going to be a really big day, but first I have something really special that I'm going to be doing. I'm meeting with Jamie from MotoGeo. I met Jamie back at Get On ADV Fest in the Mojave, and he asked me to come out and we're going to do an interview together. We're going to talk about the adventure, about riding with Moxie, and everything that's coming up. His channel, MotoGeo, he does a bunch of his own adventures. He also does gear reviews and things like that. So it'll be fun to go and see him in Topanga tonight. Filming with Jamie from MotoGeo was a really unique experience. We filmed at the top of Topanga at this beautiful lookout point, and Jamie is just such a wonderful human being and a great ambassador for the sport of motorcycling. So it really was a pleasure to be able to talk about the adventure and hear about what Jamie's up to with MotoGeo. This morning we're on our way to Castaic for a RawHyde training. Jim Hyde was able to get me a private class with Gina today. This is going to be a full day worth of off-roading, so there's going to be a lot going on. I'm not too nervous about it. I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to take everything off the bike and we're going to just do it as she should be.
The coach right here.
Awesome. Hi. What are you guys up to?
We are moving to Colorado.
Okay. I'm going up this way, yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
Follow it to the end.
Here at RawHyde Adventures here in Castaic. I'm coming for my private lesson. Greg is busy offloading the stuff off my bike right now, the carrier, my cases, so that it's lighter and just so that I don't have all of that there. Moxie is meeting an old friend, Loki, from ADV Fest, who she knew and didn't love then and doesn't really love now. Again, not surprised.
Meeting is a nice way to say it. I would say shit disturbing.
She is. She's doing her typical nudging to try and get a reaction. But I'm excited about today, a little anxious, but looking forward to gaining some new skills.
So RawHyde has two facilities, or actually really three. So we were at the Zakar facility in Mojave for adventure days, which they now call Get On ADV Fest, that they do with Revzilla. So that was a few weeks ago. They have this original facility in Castaic, and that is sort of where they got started, and it's this beautiful kind of ranch area and these beautiful foothills here of California. So that's pretty amazing. But it gets hot here, right? Of course. So Colorado is essentially where all the classes take place during the summer because it's cooler, and why wouldn't you want to be in Colorado in the summer? So they still do some private instruction here and maintain the facility during the off season, the opposite of snowbirds, sunbirds, okay?
I called deep sand once. I went through miles and miles of it falling and I could just not get going. I call it FU sand because it's that deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my rate. This is like easy sand, and when it gets like this, I call it FU sand.
Yeah.
When I do photomoto, I have a 160, 180 pound guy on the back with a camera, and he's doing this, and he's doing yoga, or he's over my head, and he's standing, and I've done a couple of these Belgian waffle rides.
Okay.
They're a bicycle race, but it's half straight and half dirt. So they're jumping off into gravel and gnarly rocks and stuff with these really cool hybrid tires. And so I'm like having no shit moments because I got this dude on the back and we did a dumpy do in the sand, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? It was like my bike, we're going along and it just went boom. And I'm like, sorry dude, what happened? What he told me later is he's leaning on the back of my bike because he's a bicycle racer. I'm like, abort, like, no, I need you to like, don't move. And I was like, dude, and then I'd see sand coming up and I'm like, dude, don't move. And I would stand up and just and make my way through and just pretend you like your dog. And then you just have to wait. They actually help stabilize the rear end, and it's just you ding 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 or gassing through the sand. And so having Moxie on the back might actually help you standing. It scares me, but it helps me standing in the tricky stuff. And you just got to get over that. You just got to get out of your head.
No, you're right.
Get you out of your head.
We talked through what I'm looking for, practicing the standing, all of the skills. So we're going to be doing some of that today.
Here, move it around. Get angry. Do what I just did. Get angry at it. You're my bike. I'm controlling you. You're not controlling me. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just like moving it around, staying light on it. Let it do its thing, but you're in control.
Of course, I get like the strongest, toughest, most badass off-road woman rider to teach me, but it's exactly what I need. So hopefully I'll progress well.
There is a other part of the facility that is fenced, and so that's where Moxie's gonna spend some time. I am going to close her in there. She's gonna hang out in the shade. We're gonna water her, and she'll be able to take it easy for a bit, and we won't have to worry about her getting mixed up in things.
So you want both feet that way. You want to go.
Would you always do right, left, or you do left, right when you're
I do the inside one.
You do the inside one.
So I'll go, if I'm going this way, I'll go dance, dance, candy into the tank, looking back. Now I'm going left. Left, left, candy, turning to the right.
What does it mean when Gina says candy? She means your butt, your toque, your tuchus. I think that's a great name for it, and maybe it'll stick.
It's just knowing that you know where that sweet spot, where that friction zone is, and being able to finesse it is what you really want, you know, because sometimes you're daintily going through a single track and there's rocks and you don't want the clutch full out, you don't want the bike running away with you. You have that clutch in and you're gently front braking, you're picking your line, you're creating your speed and you're setting yourself up, because it's all about the speed and the eyes up looking where you want to go. Being controlled by that.
She's very talented, she's very capable. She just needs to decide to apply herself. I can see a difference already, and that difference is that she's here to do it. She has shown up to take it serious. In the past, in Guatemala, when she did a couple of these with a certified BMW instructor, he would tell her what to do and she would kind of dab at it and sort of half-ass it a bit. And then when he wasn't looking, when he moved on to another student, that's when she would kind of sit back down or lollygag again. Very much that sort of, when the teacher's looking, I will pretend to be doing it. But of course, like, that's the sign mentally, like, you didn't really show up to do this and take this seriously and learn it. I mean, Gina is focused on her 100%, so Jess can't really fuck off at all, can she? But she really is here with a smile on her face and sort of like, oh wow, look, I'm doing it. My candy is hanging off. I'm turning and twisting and I'm swinging a leg over. So she's showed up to take it serious, and I think the results will inevitably come.
Yes, beautiful.
Gotta make sure you do a lot of glugging while you're out here.
And Moxie's looking. Did you leave her water?
I left Moxie water. Look at that. What a good mama bear. Jess is in the middle of her course here. She's shitting bricks and, you know, pissing out bullets and scared. You can see the fear on her face. And yet, what is she thinking about? Does Moxie have water?
I wanted to be Moxie on the back of her bike because I didn't want her to revert to sitting all the time. Very often we see people come to training and they're kicking butt and they're doing great, and the second they leave, they go right back to their old habits. So I just wanted to test her, and before you guys pulled away, and then she just started doing what she did, and she's fabulous. And like most people, she's doubting herself when she's got great skill, great friction zone and throttle control, and you can tell she's had a lot of miles with a lot of weight back here. So, and it's not hers, clearly. So she's doing great, and it's still the morning. I can't wait to see what the afternoon does.
Having Gina on the back is like having Moxie on the back. So it was great to practice having somebody else on the back so that I can see what that feels like as I go through these cones.
As the cockpit designer, I am thrilled when I hear Jess say that having Gina on the back feels just like riding with Moxie, which is to say that having the cockpit on there, having your big dog in the cockpit, feels just like having a passenger. That's the whole idea. That's what we were going for, is it's gonna feel more or less like having a human passenger. And by the way, you can do it off-road. Love it!
It's been a good first half of the day. It's been awesome on this stretch here. I've been practicing with the cones and doing the like enduro steering, getting my ass out there. It's getting better and better, I think.
Baby, I'm slow. Gonna creep into my eyes, snail show until the spring liberates me from my winter hell. I've got candles and candy. I can be your daddy if you only let me creep into your prison cell. Hey baby, can you tell I'm not a criminal? Your choice is seminal. I want you to stay true. What's right for you? No matter who, always know what will others say. Just find your way and try to stay true.
I know, almost, you right? You had it. You were surfing. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You had it. I was like, yeah, she's doing
close.
some rear wheel skids. And where did he go?
I don't know.
He's having a little fun on our property, which he's not supposed to.
So yes, I do eventually smoke the gar, although that's not really the main pleasure for me. It's really just sort of, I guess, a pacifier, you know, if I'm being honest.
Okay, hang on. Yeah. I was like, is he talking to her?
Now, straighten. I gotcha. Don't go too far, it'll go downhill.
Okay.
Jess has dropped the bike a couple of times. The last one was a bit more destructive.
I had a few crashes today. The first one scraped up from my auxiliary light that I have on the side. It scraped up the paint on the beak, so that was number one. Number two, I bent my clutch, my foot clutch thing. That one got bent a little bit. But number three was the big one, and that one is when I went down up here. It was like a really hard, like downhill. There was camber, and I just had too much speed, and I wiped out. It bent my foot brake quite a bit, but the bad thing is it completely broke off my front brake. And all of this stuff is front brake work. So then I had to try and come down the hill without a front brake, and again went down. And that one didn't do anything. The good thing is that we do have spare parts on my other bike that's sitting in North Hollywood, which is only about 40 minutes away, so it's not the end of the world.
We are doing a very temporary, very down and dirty fix here after just broke the shit out of this brake lever. It is completely gone. There's barely a nubber left, so we're using some creativity here and some wire to just keep this clamper wrench on here for the 40-minute drive so that she can get home. Now, of course, this means you're gonna have to focus on the rear brake and really just be ginger on the front brake. No grabbing a whole handful of emergency brake. So Jess's normal, you know, let's do 85, 90 on the interstate may not be something that we want to do, although knowing her, she'll start off slow and then not realize that she's gotten fast as shit.
No. I'm gonna have my 4-ways on and we will ride in the right lane.
That's how it will start. And then she'll be like, no, I'm fine. And I'll be like super nervous and like, are you sure? You're going fast all of a sudden. No, I'm fine. Really, honestly, I'm fine. And I'll be like shitting bricks the whole time because everything that's important to me in the whole world is on that bike. Mostly the dog, but also Jess. I think we've got a working solution here.
Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the episode. So I was able to do 2 different off-road courses in the past few weeks. So the first one was the DART class that I took, which was that beginner class. It was a few hours in the morning at Overland Expo West. And that was a really great sort of refresher class. They went through it pretty quickly, but I was able to pick up some of the skills again and just to have that practice. It was really useful for that. Then this class that I took with Gina from RawHyde Adventures, it was absolutely like next level. Having a private class like that, it was tough for me. I think you probably see it in the episode that like I wasn't allowed to sort of just relax like I was more in the DART training. Like when there were other people around, yeah, other people are going through the obstacles, so it gives you a chance to sort of just hang back and watch them do it. And then you do yours and then you take a little break. When you have a private lesson, your instructor is there the whole time watching you. So unless you really like need a break, they're gonna want you to continue to get through all of the different steps. And Gina was a ball buster in that, and I think it's because we sort of set the stage at the beginning that like I'm the type of person who, unless you really push me, I struggle to sort of do it myself. So Gina did a really great job of getting me through all of the steps that we needed to just get me feeling a lot more confident. It was a really physical day. If you've done any off-roading, you know that like off-roading itself is physical, but doing the skills, wow, like doing it over and over again. And then especially when you're going down like I was and having to pick up your bike, like you get tired pretty quickly. And I noticed that I went through like the typical arc of one of these courses, at least from what Gina was telling me. At the beginning, you're really cautious and you're excited, but like you're sort of getting into it. Then you sort of get into a groove. You're doing really well. You're feeling confident. You're getting through the obstacles. And then lunchtime happens. And then after lunch, you get a bit of a slump where you're not doing as well as you were before. You're sort of questioning, well, what the hell is happening? And then eventually you get a little bit better. And then either you end on a high or you end on a low. That's what happened here for me because I was doing really great. Gina even jumped on the back and acted like Moxie in that sense so that I could go through the obstacles. And that was really helpful for me to sort of get that feeling of that, yes, I can do the same things that I do alone that I could do with a passenger or with a Moxie. And she was great about like showing me what I was doing wrong. And that was really key for me because it's sort of hard when you're going through the obstacles yourself to know what exactly it is that's like wrong. But when you see somebody else sort of showing you that, it can make you much more aware of your own body positioning and what you need to be doing the skills correctly. The one thing that I'm definitely going to take away from Gina is her sort of song about when you're turning. So she's got her dance, candy, turn routine that she does. And since this course, it's always in my head, making sure that I turn my feet, because that was something that I wasn't doing in the past when I'm doing tighter turns, enduro turns. So turning your feet and then sticking your candy out, sticking your ass out so that you're off the side of the bike, leaning the bike, and then making sure that you actually turn and you look. So that was really something that has stuck with me. And it's funny, she was saying how she gets other people who come back to her after they've had a class with her, and they always sort of remember the candy part of it because it's just such a fun way to remember it. And so every time I go into a turn, I sort of think about it: dance, candy, turn. So good for Gina for getting me to do that, and that was a great little system that she's got in place for reminding people to do the movements. And then at the end there, I had a number of little crashes going down. The hardest one was when the camber was really bad and I just took it too fast. It's also because I think I was a bit tired, and I think that's sort of the dangerous part of it all, is when you get too tired, you end up, you crash more often just because you just don't have the wherewithal to be doing the skills correctly. I was going a little bit too fast, and that sort of is what got me down, and that's what broke off my front brake. It was funny because Gina was talking about how, like, obviously I don't have all of the typical like ADV sort of gear on. Like I didn't have like the adventure boots on. I had my TCX boots, which are soft leather, so they're not necessarily hard, with a nice strong support around the ankle that you would need, or a taller boot. So at the time I didn't have the right boots. I was also wearing my Revit pants that I love, my Revit jeans, which are not necessarily the most protective. They have knee and hip armor, but it's not like they're the most durable things. And then in terms of my bike, what I didn't really have, and I still don't have, are strong sort of hand guards. I've got the BMW ones, I believe they are, and they're just soft, sort of plasticky. And so when I went down, the hand guard just sort of shifted up, and it allowed for the brake lever to break off. And that's what happened in that case. I've done it numerous times now for my brake and my clutch. My clutch, I now do have one of those foldable, or like it'll fold back so the whole thing won't break off, which what happened in this case on my brake. So because the whole brake lever broke off, I only had that little nub left, so there was no way I was going to have any room to actually use it. So Greg MacGyver that wrench, so at least I had something to get back with. But I wasn't able to like complete the last part of the course, which sucked. On one hand, I was pooped, so I was sort of glad that it ended when it did. But on the other hand, like I would have liked to have completed it, and I would have liked to have gone out without a like crashed bike. But it is what it is. I've been using the skills that Gina has taught me on a lot of off-road, dirt road, or we've been on some gravel, we've been on some more bouldery stuff, but I've been practicing as much as I can, because obviously the next big challenge for me is going to be the road to the Arctic Ocean, either the Dalton or the Dempster. Both of them have really deep gravel. Right now it's been raining a lot and it's cold, so I imagine that the road is not going to be nice and bone dry. It's more likely going to be slick with mud probably too, so that's another thing that I'm going to have to contend with. But by having those skills, you know, I feel a lot more confident. We were looking for wild campsites this past week, because we do camp out as much as we can on the days that we're not working. And most of the places when we would pull off here, they were all dirt. And, you know, in the past, I would have really thought about it and been like, I don't know if we shouldn't just go down there. We should just go somewhere else. That's sort of what I would end up telling Greg. But this time I went to it, and I stood right up and we went down these paths. Sometimes they got a little bit bad and we had to turn around. Other times we made it through and we ended up going to really cool campsites. And I think that's the type of off-roading that I want to do. As much as I have my BDR hat from Ron on, the BDRs aren't necessarily something that jazzes me. It's like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be this hardcore like rider, off-road rider. No, I want to just feel confident that that I can get to the places that I want to go to. And most of those places involve interesting campsites or sort of off the beaten path type of things. But it doesn't mean that I want to be like going on these like gnarly roads. That's not sort of my style. But I do want to feel comfortable to do the things that I like. And that's what this was all about. Anyhow, that was a long way of sort of saying I was really grateful for RawHyde Adventures for comping me this private lesson with Gina, and Gina was fantastic. Thank you so much, Gina. And Dart as well at Overland Expo West. That was a great sort of intro again into the off-roading. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about off-roading, what skills you think that I need to have and things that I should be practicing. I love to hear that type of stuff. And don't forget to follow us at GoRUFFLY for Instagram and Facebook so that you can be up to date with what's going on. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.